So wait, oh, it's not live right now.
There are 6 people watching. Who's watching? Okay, I'm sorry.
I think
Continue.
8.
we are 6 people.
It's just us.
6 people and
Right.
Uzox. So what is that big 7 behind you, Rajib?
Nothing.
Are we live? Live?
Yes, we're live. Hey, guys.
Hello and welcome to the stream, where we have a bunch of authors and publishers from PanicNot and outside, and we're gonna discuss how it is like to write adventures and publish them, and etc. Okay, to start things off, I'm Kush. I'm a member of TPK, and I'll be moderating this panel. Never done that before. Probably will never do that again, but we'll see how. Up next, Sam, could you introduce yourself, please, and what was your role in this whole thing?
Thanks, Kush. And first of all, thanks to everyone at your end, the Pigeon Killers, for actually setting all of this up and, giving all the authors here and us, the publishers, a chance to sort of actually talk about what we've been through since this took a while. And just for those who may not know, my name is Samir. A lot of people just call me DM Sam over the table when we're running our sessions. I'm one of the co-founders of PanicNot and publisher/editor of Maze Magazine, the first Indian TTRPG periodical, which has launched on DriveThruRPG. And hopefully, as we expand on its content over the next few weeks, you'll see it in a few other places. So yeah, that's in a nutshell, just to start with, that's me.
Brilliant. Also, to add on to that, if you use the code TPK10, you get 10% off on all your purchases of the magazine.
Really? Oh my god, even I.
No,
Wait, who made that decision?
okay, that's
price code.
bullshit. Okay, there's no code.
Okay, I was
You'll
scared
get a virus.
for a while. Okay, I had to grind on that pricing model, and now we're doing discount codes. I said we'll be, ethical and transparent, but this is taking it a bit too far.
This is not what moderating is, Kush.
Yeah, fake information.
Minus 5 points to you. Anyway, up next
Wait,
is
just
Sean.
points? Oh my god, I didn't prep for this. So now this is a lot of pressure, okay? I just thought I was coming to talk, but now if there's points, I have to get
It's alright. You don't, nothing you do controls the points. Just don't bother.
You're gamifying panel discussions. I think that's a leap.
nothing I did
So
ever did
Sean.
also, ask my teachers in school.
Yeah,
But
you're up next.
hi, I am Sean. Just Sean, not Sean, and not just Sean. Sean. And I have written some stuff for Maze. I have been one of the people that has been giving Sam all the support because, honestly, Maze, Sam put in a lot of work and he really carried it through. And I'm a writer and one of the co-founders at PanicNot, and I love DMing. And hopefully I will have all of y'all in my game someday.
Sensual intro.
Sean, how many times do you go Sean De Paul sort of? Always wanted be the
I never introduce myself as Sean D'Souza. I just introduce myself as Sean. I feel like my identity is just Sean because honestly, because of the rules of our government, right? I've had to change my name multiple times. Is there an apostrophe? Is there not an apostrophe?
That's actually
You know?
true.
Oh, that is
What?
something I heard today.
I think we've landed upon something very niche but interesting.
Yeah, I did not.
Introducing you.
Let's discuss
I don't know about this.
It doesn't take
You're
special
obviously-
characters in the system, guys. So I think the apostrophe now is just metaphorical in my life.
On that note, we move on to Vee. Please introduce yourself.
Oh, hi. Yes, I exist. Okay. Hi, I'm Vee. I write, I guess, and I wrote something here. I don't know what else to say about me. That's all. Okay, bye.
It was a short panel discussion.
Yeah, you can tell people about like your obsession with glasses and
My
how you
obsession with
think
what?
you're a marketing bro.
Okay.
Glasses,
my
sunglasses.
God.
Okay,
Oh my
listen.
God.
How you're a marketing bro.
This is okay. These are 3D glasses that Kush gifted me, and I brought them here just to let everyone know that this is. He hyped it up for a month, and he was like, "I'm gonna get you something amazing when I come and meet you." It was the 3D glasses that he stole. So that's all. That's what he means.
But
You wanted
even
to-
after when you were wearing the 3D glasses, I still can't see it in 3D.
No, I
Awesome.
thought I would see all of you in 3D and feel closer to you, but it didn't work.
Like the ring moment
It
where
was a
can you
thoughtful
see
gift.
as the arm comes towards you?
Oh, yeah.
That's a trigger. That's a very big trigger.
Sean disappeared like the apostrophe in his name.
You scared him away.
All right. So with that, we'll move on to Rajib.
Hi, my name is Rajib. I have written an adventure for the Maze magazine. It's called A Storm of Locusts. Yeah, I mean, that's it. I'm Rajib. Hi.
Written a lot of other things also. Okay, that he's not talking about.
Yeah, all your adventures on Drive-Thru RPG.
I
This is
mean,
stupid.
I mean, I've
Oh, yeah.
written a few
We'll
other
get to that.
adventures. They are on Drive-Thru RPG, I guess. Yeah.
And some
And yeah,
amazing
I
races.
play IDM.
Check out Undead Rajib 1 or Undead Rajib on the social media platform of your choice.
on.
It's with the one on Twitter and without the one on Instagram. Right?
Yeah, long story for that, but yeah, let's not get there. It's like the missing apostrophe.
I love that this is what we're going to keep
Wait.
coming back to.
And like steal your name, so you had to make a second account with the one in it.
Yeah.
That's what I thought, but it was me the whole time.
It's good to be your own fan, I think.
Yep.
You just
We
forgot the
actually
password.
yeah.
No, I thought, yeah, somebody else has that account, but yeah, I forgot that I had an account. So yeah.
Oh. The Pigeon Killers exist somewhere on Instagram, but now we're the Pigeon Killers.
Oh
Let's
yeah, you
not-
guys had a recent.
No. We're not getting into that. I cannot afford to be a sad panelist right
You
now.
can save all of this for Unearth Arcana. Put it into like a
Yeah.
special
This
release.
is part of the TPK lore now.
Exactly.
Yeah,
It is.
yeah. It's like we're like enemies of Zuckerberg now.
Yeah.
So
Come
yes,
back
with
and-
that, we move on to Kshema.
Hello, I'm Shake. I'm part of the Pigeon Killers, so you've seen me on this channel before. Apart from that, I'm also gaming world, I guess. Fuck, I'm a weird to say. Otherwise, when I am not doing, I've done right social causes. So thank you so much, Sam, for getting me back into fantasy writing. Oh god, like honestly, I must have been like a complete terror to Sam with the number of times he had to go like, you know what, maybe this is a little too obvious, and I was like, correct, yes, I realize now. But I have an adventure in this magazine called It's a Transpose, and it's my first TTRPG adventure. Please go and buy a copy of this magazine, so because 100 or like over
Don't forget to
100
use code
pages.
TPK10.
Yeah, no, don't. Yeah.
No, what? Did we clear this out already? There is no code, guys.
If you don't see the TPK 10, then that's because you don't appreciate Aaron. But
It's your own fault.
yeah, exactly. So, but otherwise, do not panic like Sam should. You know, go below, click on the link, buy yourself a copy because it has some fantastic content. Then in like a couple of months oh my god, first TTRPG magazine. Yeah, guys, why wouldn't you
Yep.
copy? If you don't, then sorry guys, not playing enough.
First of many to come, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, next one up is in Feb. Just in
Awesome.
case, like I'm saying it like publicly right now. Okay.
Right.
Call for entries are already open. On
Okay, so October. Cool.
Like, it's like really fun to be here again with like Sam and Shah, because first like one shot we had on this channel was with PanicNot. So this feels like a full circle rebirth of our Instagram account and us hopefully stream more again. So thank you to everyone who's watching this. And if you have any questions, ask anyone here. You can put it in the chat. I'll just read.
Yep, I'm looking at the comments.
Oh, even Kush is good.
I would say that it was not just the magazine. Like Sean and Sam and PanicNot were instrumental in getting me into TTRPGs and D&D like long time ago. So I mean, they have been such a pillar of the community for in this country. They were the one. I mean, nobody else was doing it. They were the ones doing it. They like brought so many of us up. They taught so many of us to play D&D. They were so supportive. I mean, I really miss those sessions that we used to have in Levi's Lounge and all that. But still, the work that they have been doing is like incredible.
Yeah, I think even I became a part of the community through PanicNot because that's where I played like I played D&D before, but I'd never played with people in India or known that there were people in India playing. So that's how I got to know, okay, oh, there is this huge community here, and met a lot of really cool people through that. So yeah, like I thought it was so fun. Actually.
We're all gonna cry now. Honestly, like really, like PanicNot, like you really set standards. Even honestly, like the design was top notch. The server was like incredible. I had like such a huge fan with all these, and it was so cool to just kind of be like, damn, I'm part of like this online community, and it's India, you know, not having. Oh man, like.
Not having to wake up at 6 a.m.
Yes,
play.
thank you.
So that actually brings me to the first question for the panel, and this one is for the members of PanicNot. And basically, people publish their singular adventure on these sites most of the time. What gave you the idea that a magazine would be a good idea? How did you come up with it?
Well, the purpose of the magazine isn't so much to exist for its own sake. It's mainly a tool. A magazine helps provide a kind of a context for people to aspire to in terms of a collective power. You know, it's almost like bargaining in trade unions. When you're working under a certain ambit umbrella of a magazine brand, it does lend a lot of credibility. But that's not the problem that we're facing in India. What the problem we're facing in India is we've got great writers, great imagination, but maybe they're not interested in writing fiction. Maybe they're interested in experimenting a lot. There are the whole community of gamers in TTRPG, as we all well know, spread all over the place, who are actively creating every week for every home session, for every, you know, like stream like you guys do. And it's so much potential expression and content that could be shared and could help sort of give that opportunity to people who are interested in reaching out. So like, even if somebody thinks that, oh yeah, I can write enough to fill up 2 pages for like my weekend session for this month, they don't know that just getting that into like a 4,500 piece or 8,000 piece is not that hard. I mean, it seems insurmountable. And that's why a huge part of the magazine's kickoff was around a workshop, which was the idea of like getting people who maybe haven't written anything and like helping them take a seed and bring it all the way to like a full manuscript. And in the runoff that we experienced, we worked with a lot of different people who are now in the backlog for the next issue. So I can be a lot more cocky about my release dates because because we did see a lot of outpouring from people. And then there was another dimension, and it's kind of the kind of thing we do, which is we kind of bite off more than we can chew. So it's not just about, okay, we're going to bring out adventures. It's like, okay, what about people who are artists who want to do maps, or people who want to like basically tap into the revenue stream that exists out there? Because if you're not going to do it on the internet, where the hell else are you going to do it? I'm not going to expect anybody in India to go into a bookstore and be like, oh, I wonder whether the new Spelljammer, core book is out. That's not going to happen. Okay, we have to be a bit practical about these things. And my whole thought process was, how can PanicNot bridge that? Even if it's just one stepping stone, even if it's just one adventure by one person, and that allows them to go and send it to a mainstream press abroad. That's fine. But at the same time, making sure that, they get paid. Because at the end of the day, I as a person who's spent a substantial amount of time working in freelance, as a lot of us have in PanicNot, effort should be rewarded, even if it's to the cents and the dollar, but it should be rewarded. And it's a great validation for the effort you're putting in. Now, whether we can succeed in marketing it and promoting it and getting enough people's eyeballs on it and getting them interested, I mean, yeah, that's on us. But we're going to figure it out. But as we have been, but like, okay, that's my scary nightmare. Okay, just I'm confessing right now. Like, that's the part that scares the hell out of me. Putting the magazine together, okay, that wasn't as hard. Okay, this is the real hard part. But yeah, that was the basic idea, that if once we can get the magazine out, it gives this solid piece. And we're doing prints as well. As I mean, we've discussed it a little bit. We'll
Yeah.
be sending out physical print copies to a few places, letting it sit in game stores and other venues where people might interact with it. Just because it's not just meant to be a digital throwaway. These are meaningful objects. There are modules that exist for 30 years that people still pay attention to, magazines that exist for that long. I want us to aspire to that level. And I think all our writing, and especially the writers who are here, have done so in each of their adventures. So yeah, that was the basic gist of the complicated thought process behind it.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
I
a
don't think there's
great
much I
answer.
can add to that. But I think for the most part, it was just creating something that was ours, and not just ours as PanicNot, but like ours as a community, that we can say, okay, this is what's happening in India. It's one place where it can be put together, it can be worked on, and like Sam said, something to aspire to. Which I feel like the point is to give back and add that fuel back into our community and just keep building on that.
Actually, coming
I'll
to
just
that,
add one more thing, actually, which is I forgot to mention, which is so we used to be like in public, right? Like Rajiv remembers, we were not a digital entity. Okay, we were never like, we were out there in Levi's Lounge and like above the Habitat and these different like places, physical places, doing physical real things. And making that transition to digital also played a role, because in making this magazine a thing, because that's a whole market now. That's like a space where creators, we used to sell posters and postcards and comics and
Yeah.
minis
And
and stuff.
stickers and like
Yeah, like physical,
Yeah.
real things. And now everything is so virtual, so it feels disposable. And when an individual person puts all that effort of layout and page setting and design and self check and putting it on drive through alone, that that effort of scale is so much more precious. If we can get writers to do what they do best, which is write, then that we take care of the rest of it. But then there are people who are great all around, because in that sense, I will mention that people should check out Rajiv's standalone self-published stuff on drive-through, because his
Yeah.
aesthetic sense of laying out a visual story within the module, like that should be printed. That's like the real.
Yeah, and Rajib has been publishing for a little while now. Like he's
Yeah.
A little bit.
really gotten the hang of it, and
Yeah, and
Yeah,
if
I-
we can
Yeah.
end this process, even if it's a year from now with 4 editions, but then 40 writers have learned that, oh, here are the templates, here are the tools, because you care more about the story than about worrying too much about layout and design, then you can also self-publish. It's not so much a gatekeeper as it is a platform where you can, get on top and then, scream your heart out.
so I love a
Right.
good alliteration. How did you come up with this?
Sean, do you remember the seed? Because I know, like, but I was like,
I remember we were in Vada, and so I think we were on a game or at a table in Vada, I think, and we were just chilling and maybe sort of playing a game. But I don't remember the exact thing.
so like all
I
things.
remember
Sean,
it happened, and you were just like, okay,
think like a
This-
pun. You'll remember. Okay, so the name Maze Magazine was for a myriad of reasons. One is, okay, I'm a practical person when it comes to like business related stuff, and releasing a product is a business. But that's why I have 4 other people who are all creatives, who can really care way more than I can and give way more time to this. And Sean is the king of puns. So like he said, we were in Wada, lakeside, riverside, cottage garden, open table, and they're just throwing words around. Like, what would make a good name for a magazine? And I'm like, okay, alliteration tends to work. And then they start playing around, and over time, it came. Okay, what is a table? A table in like Hindustani Urdu is a maze.
Oh my god!
I did not make that connection.
Now I get it.
I never got it. I'm so ashamed.
Yeah. So it's not so much for the Western language understanding, but then at the same time, mazes give way to all sorts of other motifs that
Yeah,
we
and
think
you have
about.
mazes in dungeons. You have, and
Yeah.
it's also
Amazing.
short for a maze,
That is nice.
Yeah.
That is so
which
cool.
hopefully it will
Amazing.
be. I mean, we
Amazing.
can't say that. The world has to. The world has to say that. We can't say that.
Mhm.
So it's kind of our little Easter egg fun from our
Oh,
own
that's
culture.
brilliant. I'm like
Yep.
more
Tabletop.
like invested in this now. Yeah.
That is nice.
Maze top.
Awesome.
Amazing. That's a brilliant piece of story. And
Yep.
yeah. You mentioned that there is a backlog of many other writers as well for the next
Yeah.
edition. So, what about these 4 adventures did you like enough to keep it in first version?
So while they were complete, that helped.
Big one.
Like they were first across the proverbially moving finish line, because like schedules are made to be broken, especially when it comes to creativity. And the number of times people said, okay, I don't think I'm ready to do this, maybe I'll give it later. And I was like, no, this is ready, trust me, I know when it's ready. Because everybody's aiming for perfection, and like I'm just looking for progress. And in that sense, it's just like and there were a few people who actually finished their entire adventure and they were like, okay, I think I want to self-publish. And I was like, I totally get that. Like, I understand where you're coming from, like, so yeah, go on. And we provided some, like insights regarding how to manage the back end and like helping with layouts and stuff. But that's their piece of work. They're going to figure it out. For other people, it's like, okay, we just needed a little more time. But the confidence is a huge part of being a first-time writer. And for some of you, that feeling is, I'm sure, like very familiar. Knowing when to let go is like very important, and you won that race. But if I had to say that, were these 4 adventures actually at the top of my list? Yeah, they were actually, because they all covered 4 very unique dimensions of different types of stories. They were not repeating the tropes. They were not repeating settings. They each had a unique voice and a unique approach to the world they were tackling. And I wanted to make sure that we are able to display that kind of variety and diversity, because there's a lot of assumptions when you say, oh, it's an Indian anything, and by putting the kind of mix that we did, it says, no, Indian is everything, we get everywhere. Okay. So
Oh, that's so cool.
yeah.
Love that.
Yeah. 100%.
Right. So with that, we'll get to each one of those stories. So I have not read the magazine. I know a little bit of, I kind of know all of Vee's story, but I don't know the others. So let's start one by one, and you can tell us about how you got the idea for your story, which was one of the questions from the comments. And basically, without spoiling anything, what is your story about? So let's start with Kshema.
Oh wow. Well, so let's see. So when Sean put up like that request for when PanicNot, both like all of you have that magazine itself. Oh, I was so excited. It's been like ages since I've done any sort of fantasy writing. I was like, hey, if I could do Homebrewed campaign online and nobody hated it, maybe I can write the whole story. So I wrote it. And Sam was very kind enough to tell me this is not how you do it. Okay, and I was like, oh, yay, cool. But what I really wanted with my story, honestly, was the fact that I've played in quite a few adventures, right? I have never gone under. And that's really what I wanted. I was playing Waterdeep campaign with Rajib at that time, and like I was just like, oh my god, I want to know more about Triton. And so I really wanted to do something, and I can't swim, but I love the ocean. I'm from Trandrum, the beaches all around. Okay, so I've always wanted to know what's there. And a lot of my adventure actually exploring different parts of it. I kind of wanted to any DM an opportunity to take your characters and dump them in the ocean and see how they'd survive. And it turned out really well. And I mean, I have to totally give Sam props for really putting, finish it. Even like I think I was going for the 8,000 word limit, but that got a little hard, and I had to learn to be like, oh, this is not like killing your baby and things, knowing what you keep now. And turned out so well. I had some apps for it, and I can't wait to play test it with a lot of people. Other people test it, and how it turns out. And anyone who reads it will clearly see I've come from a very novel writing background, because a lot of it has the very touch of haha, you can throw this curveball at them, you can throw that curveball at them. Totally my style. I love improv, and being able to be like, hey, don't tell them what to do, give them ideas is such a huge turn. And we have so many panel writers. Everybody has their own style, and to actually capture your style to an adventure in writing instead of being base it off what your party is, completely different. I'm so glad to be a part of the first issue, really. And I had no idea who else would be this issue, and people that I've adventured with is so cool. So my adventure is called Tides of Transpose. If you want to basically have some tritons or go to underwater kingdom, adventure for you. It should probably 3 to 4 sessions.
Yeah.
Lovely. That sounds really exciting, and we might actually do a miniature version of that game on our stream. So if you're interested in knowing what the sentiment literature is all about, what am I saying? Stay tuned for a few more weeks, I guess. I don't know when that'll happen, but it'll happen. All right. So Rajib, what was your adventure like, and how was it writing it?
My adventure is called Storm of Locusts. It's a very literal title. It is about storms of locusts. The last adventure that I had written and published was Search for Sanjeevani, which is which takes a very small story from the Ramayana and kind of expands upon it. And I had I was I don't know, off the game, I suppose the term is, for a while. I had not written anything. I got busy with other things. But then when this call came, I got really excited. I wanted to go back to writing again. I wanted to write again. So I just kind of jumped at that. And how the idea came about, I don't know. I suppose in one of those Wikipedia binges, which I go on now and then. There is there's a list of Indian mythical monsters, basically. So among them, I found this entity which is known as I don't know. There's a race of people, actually, mythical race of people called the Shalavs, who are insectoid, very obscure, I suppose. So somehow that sparked an idea. I had read about this, again, there's this whole biblical plague of locust thing, but other than that also, it's a real thing, right? Swarms of locusts coming and destroying crops and all that. I mean, what if they just started drinking people's blood? So that's where the idea came from. And it actually builds upon some of the concepts and ideas that was in the in Search for Sanjeevani, because that was more than just one adventure. It was to me at least, the start of a larger narrative, setting up these different races of people, these different types of characters and enemies and creatures that are all based on Indian mythology. So I suppose I'm happy to fill that Indian part of the Indian magazine in this instance. So yeah, it builds upon some of them, and within it, I'm just kind of trying to set up this kind of whole mythology, this whole lore. We will see what comes next, but yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. It's kind of a bit of an investigation adventure. You happen upon this village, which is under siege from this storms of locusts. People cannot go out, crops are dying. So you being like good, honest to God adventurers, you decide to help them. There is this bit of investigation part where you try to figure out where this is coming from, and then there's this big confrontation in the end. Very standard, let's say, layout format. But yeah, I hope I have done something new. I hope people enjoy reading it and playing it.
The fantastic 2 homebrew races that you made with
Yeah.
Farmer and the Rakshas. Oh my god, it's so.
No,
cool.
in this one as well. I mean, it's not a playable race yet, but then there is a homebrew race of the what do they call the bear folk basically. Yeah, that is another. I'll maybe at some point of time I'll release like a playable version of that. It's a lot of fun.
That sounds great.
Yeah, but I should just mention, like, Rajib might be underplaying a particular element because the way his adventure is set up actually takes into so much account player freedom,
Yeah.
because the notion of how the investigation or the absence, because let's be, like, not every player group is as honest and as diligent as a DM might want. So the way Rajib is able to sort of layer in the possibilities of actions, inactions, consequences, and actually very cohesively guide any, like, DM to know, okay, I can easily just, adjust and accommodate. I think that's a really great approach that Rajib has taken in his adventure, which really works remarkably well. And I've run it like during playtesting in the early stages for like 2 separate groups, and it actually worked out quite nicely.
Nice.
Yeah.
No, I mean, Sam was a big part of that because we had some initial discussions with Sam was the editor for this, right? So a lot of that actually did come from Sam's suggestions, like how to structure that. Because initially it was a little bit of a mess, but I think with the help of Sam, we kind of figured it out how to exactly structure it so that it is easy for the DM to kind of navigate with that entire area.
I really liked it. I liked how, we all playtest, but I loved how it all reached the point where, like, hey, these are your options. You can go where
Right.
you'd like.
Exactly.
And it's so cool with
That-
having that sort of replayability, so that even the DM doesn't feel good having to.
Yeah.
And I think as
Cool,
a
cool.
first time DM, that would be a great like mini campaign to run, because like I remember like being a first time DM and not knowing what to do when your players don't do exactly what you want them to do. So at that moment, like having a list of all these different paths that you can take when it goes this way is like a really great way to just teach DMing as well through that adventure. So I think it's really good even for that.
It's amazing. So, yeah, that sounds great, and sounds like a really exciting adventure. This actually sounds like something I would like to run. Blood-sucking insect people is right up my alley.
Yeah, I'm there
Awesome.
for that. I saw Kush's eyes light up when you
Oh,
said you
bear.
can play a bear. He's like, oh, new character already.
I mean, there's a monster that kind of just vomits out a swarm of locusts that
That
kind
is
of creates an area of darkness.
Oh my
Nice.
Amazing.
Great. That sounds great. All right, that's a great adventure, which you can find in this book called Maze Magazine, which you can buy. First link in the description.
Below.
Use code TPK10.
No,
There's no code.
stop it, Kush.
No, God.
People don't like your hair enough. I'm sorry.
All right, then. We'll move on to the next writer, Vee. Please tell us, how did you come up with your story, and how was it writing it?
So, I am actually more of a fiction writer, right? So it comes from this like story that I always wanted to write, which took place in an orphanage or had like an orphanage involved, and weird stuff was happening around it. And I started playing D&D, and I genuinely just was one day got really annoyed after a session where I was like, I could DM better than this. But I was also very arrogant in the sense I was like, I am not picking up a module. I'm gonna decide what I want to run. And I had this vague idea of like, wouldn't it be fun if kids, if you got to play as kids? Because I think I realized that like a part of me playing TTRPG is that I play these characters that allow me to relive my childhood in a way where I get to be a kid and I get to be immature and I get to do stupid things. So because of that, I wanted to sort of like give everyone the opportunity to just play children. And it kind of grew from there where I decided that okay, everyone's going to be kids and it's going to take place at an orphanage so that there are no parents around and I don't have to deal with that. And and I wanted very much like a dark fairy tale vibe to it, which is just it's just like it's cute but also unsettling. It's this like, and I think that like the cuteness in itself makes it a little unsettling in many ways. The beauty in itself makes it unsettling. So I wanted to sort of pull that in a little bit. And I think something very fun about being a child is that everything is an adventure. Like you get to open different doors in your house and open cupboards and find interesting things. So your home in a way becomes like a dungeon to explore. And I think I kind of wanted to capture that as well, and that's from where it grew. And then it was just and I first wrote it. I first wrote it as like a novel, like a short story of sorts with like dialogue tags and descriptions and everything. And I just kind of I didn't plan out anything. I just ran it with a bunch of people and put like and just I did voices the whole time. And then after that, I had a better idea what the story and the adventure was, and I ran it again and I had a better idea. So I kind of had the other way around of writing it, where I ran it first and then I wrote it. So I had a very different way of approaching that. And yeah, it's kind of creepy, but it's really fun. Okay, thank you.
So I know the whole story, and I have to say it like very well captures the emotion of like curiosity of a child and like like being a child, exploring as a child, as you mentioned. So it's actually like it's really well written adventure. And also I know that you don't like the mechanical aspects of the game as much, like creating DCs and what a skill check would be like. But for this, you did like a player level system, because this is like a 0 to 0.5 level game. So you had to come up with a system where what does that look like on a character sheet. So how is that?
Okay, so it was genuinely because even though I wanted people to be children, I wanted them to have some level of class flavor to it, because I didn't just want them to play as commoners. Just like this just small flavor of being able to do something. So just giving them that like 0.5 level of just this small feature of what class that they might be growing into as kids is what actually Sam suggested. And then he also said that what you could do is just like come up with this table. And I agonized over it for a while, because I was like, I have no idea. Can it just not be level 1? But I think that's a great tool for beginners, because they get to have like this small aspect of a class but not be completely overwhelmed as well. And he also gave a great narrative reason for it, where he was like, your home could be for gifted kids, right, who are just like a little bit like cooler than other kids, I guess. So and that's why it's Alistair's home for gifted children.
Lovely.
Yeah, I'm really dying to play both these adventures.
Yeah.
I'm
It's a huge hit. Her adventure is a huge hit. I've run it a bunch of times. And yeah, it's amazing. Like how it really it's strange watching like depressed or slightly angry working people in their late 20s become like regress into childhood and like do tantrums and like actually challenge the GM in ways you wouldn't expect. But at the same time, they know they're gonna be badasses by the end of it.
Yeah, and there is something really cool about just the image of like a very small child defeating a monster, or like have like just vanquishing something much bigger than themselves with like a sword or a knife in their hands. I think that is just like, that just felt so evocative that I had to put it in there. Yeah,
Great.
that's
so cool
Yeah.
because I didn't think, I think one thing most games would be against is so much like they're like, hey, you know what? Just be
Yeah.
like the child you've always wanted to be.
Okay, and with that, we go on to
I'm actually
Sean.
very excited
What was
about
it writing your adventure?
Sorry? Wait,
What was it writing? Yeah, you. What was it writing your adventure, and what inspired you to come up with
Oh
it?
man. So what's in the magazine is a world setting, which is part of like some 25,000 word adventure, which I've been writing. And yeah, and I was just like, yeah, I can't put all of this in the magazine, because it's just so much. So eventually I decided on, like, because I felt like we have some adventures, I wanted to put like a campaign setting in there as well. And I think the format I've really taken from the I don't know if you guys have read the Ravenloft books. So they've all of the worlds, all of those little they're really nicely packaged in like these 5-6 pages. So I've kind of taken that format. But the world itself was it was really interesting because in like for me it kind of it's like a mirror to the people we are in real life, because the world itself has a lot of personality, right? And on its own it's this very happy, it's like a utopian sort of setting, but there is this, like, once you like really look behind the mask, there's all of these little evil things that are happening all across the world in these really fun ways. And for me, I think the two main highlights of the setting is that one, I wrote this before Radiant Citadel came out, and it turned out to be a little similar. But basically, the idea was that it's a world that's connected to all worlds. But the only thing is that it's not connected to all worlds at the same time. So it keeps shifting. So it's like everything around it is constantly in flux. So sometimes it, like, there is a time when it could be connected to like an Eberron like setting. There's a time when it could be connected to like different settings, but not always at the same time. So like in the world also, like while you're exploring, you will find like pieces of different worlds that are just like there for no reason at all, because at some point that world was connected to this world. And the idea was that the world itself has its own personality, and there's always this lingering poison that's growing and building in the world, that's poisoning the land and the people. And at some point it becomes so like bad that, like your body tells you that, hey, I really need help. You have just been like, you have been ignoring this part of yourself, and you need to do something about it. And that's when the world like calls in heroes from different worlds, as the antibodies. So like,
Wow.
you are chosen to be the heroes of this world. So if you ever end up being here, you were chosen by the world itself, so the world believes in you.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah,
Nice.
amazing.
Yeah. And the people, and for the most part, the people are really happy. They're really peaceful. They're really content with life. But it's because of you can call it the political situation of the world, because it's connected to every other world. People come in to take over because they want, like, its position in the multiverse is important to them. Because if they are here and they can control this world, then they can go anywhere. They can be anywhere. If they manage to tame this reality, then they can go anywhere they want and take control of other worlds, expand, have that political and military strength available to go anywhere. And so, yeah, it's a little close to home also in some ways. But that was the idea that, like, and also like for me, it was also a place because I've been building on this other campaign setting for a while. This was like a little way of allowing people to transition. So if they already have players in say one campaign setting, other than just using a spell, like allowing them a middle ground somewhere where they can transition from one world to the other. Because the moment these players arrive in this world, like the world operates by a few laws, like you can't go back to the world you came from. You have to move on somewhere else. So once you're here, you'll find elements of your world, the world that you came from, but also some elements of the world that you are about to journey into after this, from this. It's like a stopping place. It's like a station for characters that are going somewhere. So eventually they will leave this world and go into a completely different world. But this is where it all mixes, it all like congeals into like one multicolored reality. Literally, because there is like a whole forest that is like a multicolored forest. But yeah, that's what it was for me. And yeah, I mean that was because I'm also a story writer first. So for me, I have just dumps and dumps of lore in my head that I just want to put down.
Yep.
So much of lore. Like I love world building so much. It's one of my strengths, and I kind of just really went into it. There's a lot of interesting places in the world as well that you can explore, and it's fun.
Nice. Sounds like a. So this is the B4 experience, right?
Oh no. So this is the Whale of Teneria. The before experience
Okay.
was so that was worked on by Ankit and Mehrnaz, who aren't here.
Yeah, who couldn't make it for the session. They have much longer work hours.
Shout out to the other creators.
Yeah.
Sam and Sean, can you help us with these? Who
Oh,
knows
yeah.
all the items and this like fantastic items brewed in it?
So,
Yeah.
so there are a few people who you may already know. So, like Ankit, who's also one of the co-founders, he worked
Yeah.
with one artist actually originally, Mehrnaz Patel, to sort of just we were working with Mehrnaz to just come up with map ideas and things like that, and then she sort of started coming up with so much lore and story for every visual decision in the map that Ankit just said, okay, why not just make this into like a mini adventure then? I mean, like sort of broaden the map out, and then it just, when the ideas start rolling between two creatives, it really ends.
Yep,
So,
yep, yep.
but since the focus was to just create a new kind of tavern, basically, the idea of the B4 experience is all about, okay, well, we know taverns and inns in the Western medieval tradition. What would like something closer to our cultural experience look like? And even a shade of that, not even encompassing everything. So things like what Jugalbandi is, that's a kind of bardic performance. So you don't necessarily have a corner stage where somebody just plays or a three-piece band. You've got call and response setups. You've got bards, like fighting it out like wrestlers, but with words across a big stage. You've got the rich and the poor sort of mixing together, but in different areas because no business will go without both. And there's also the core of their world's adventure story is it's a place you can come to n number of times because the way it's written is that there's a few incidents that are going on if you plan on using it as a one shot, but the richness of the map that comes with it, as well as the background, which is essentially the story of the owners, which are two bickering Baba brothers. In the tradition of the Baba author, like Mehrnaz drew from her own cultural experience to commentate on how her culture is and the sibling rivalries and different perspectives on family and how that translates to fantasy ghosts haunting your tavern versus getting involved with mafia-esque elements, because a tavern has like generations of stories hidden inside it, so it gives you a bit of all of that, but then it basically tells you that here are a few cool ideas, this is what can happen, mini adventure kind of a thing. So it can be used as a central location in an ongoing campaign. It's a seafaring thing. It's very rich given the limited number of pages or word count you would expect for like a supplement. It is so detailed with ideas that you don't really need there is one narrative, but everything else is here. If your players are in a tavern and they want to get up to some trouble, this is what you can offer them. So it's actually more of a tavern supplement. So it's under the game design aspect of things where you can just use it as an asset. And they did a phenomenal job putting all of that together. However, the other sections, like, so that is the B4 experience, which we were talking about. Then we've got
Also our the first game we ran for the TPK thing.
Yeah.
exactly.
Yes,
Yeah, it
voice
was
for
the base
Amishai.
for
Oh,
experience.
oh, that's
Yeah.
so cool.
Yeah.
This is that game, right?
Before,
The P to
Yeah.
voice to Ambershine. Yeah.
Yeah, it was the map, and then that's what actually gave
yep,
birth
yep.
to the idea.
Before is like the prelude to Voice to Ambushine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh,
The
Oh,
whole
okay,
idea, yeah, and that's where the map was. We hired Parnas. We said, okay, will you, like help us make this really cool map? And after a few weeks of that, the what you all played, they just started bouncing more ideas, what ifs, and that's essentially what it becomes. But like that's one module. The other sections of the magazine include, like you said, a bunch of magic items. There are like a 30 plus magic items, all inspired and motivated by our culture and aesthetics, and they were crowdsourced. That was me literally talking to people because initially I asked people, hey, would you want to contribute like a magic item? And they're like, well, I don't understand the mechanics. And I'm like, yeah, I don't blame you, man. Like, it can be a huge pain figuring out mechanics, but figuring out what ifs is not that hard. So that's what I did. I just went to people and I said, okay, just give me any idea you think for a cool magic item and let me take care of the mechanics. Let me worry about the TCs, the balance, the categorizations, all of that jazz. Just think creatively about what would make for a cool item. And then you wouldn't believe the amount of ideas that come flooding in. Like about what if this, what if that? Oh, there was this one time my DM forgot what a thing was and they came up with this thing, but then I think it would have been better if it was this other thing. So it's like a remix of a dream.
Yeah.
And I just took a lot of that and then made it as sane as I could because I wanted these items to be usable, So, and then also find a way to fit them into as flexible systems as possible. So while they are 5th edition, 4th edition in design, they have enough flavor and concepts explained that they can easily be applied to other systems. But the dragons, however, were my creation. So there's like a lot of, there are 10 distinct, so the thing is, I have this huge campaign going on for like the last 3 years. And that campaign is in a homebrew world, which is co-created with Ankit. And he runs one side of the world and I run the other side of the world. And we literally don't know what the other person is doing because we have entirely different player circles. But it's very much inspired by our culture and our country and our conflicts and our history and our personality as a people, across the north, south, east, and west. So essentially, once you admit that you have infinite diversity, you can never be excluding anybody. Because you would be a fool as a writer, as a creative, to not take advantage of everything, to tell a story. But what we did is we split it up into thematic areas like states, within a country nation. And my world, the one I run, is very, very like it's the last thing that's probably ever going to come out because it's all around religion. It's all, so that's like there's a lot of fine tuning that is needed before it can be presented in front of people's eyes. But the thing is, dragons aren't so much easily conceived of when you when you tell somebody, oh, India, they don't really think dragon. But the surprising thing is there are, and I've been using them for like the last 2 years, ever since players crossed level 6, so it was okay to try to kill them. And so like some of the more mature concepts, I have included everything from a worm all the way to an ancient dragon, and concepts which hadn't been tried and tested, I've just left them out. But so that's why they're not like, there are 4 categories, but 10 specific stat blocks. So it's a bit like I only gave what works, and I know it works because I've run those, in a lot of scenarios, and I've left out stuff that doesn't work. And all of them are like deeply rooted from, in some ways, cultures within our culture that are the minority, because we see them as the other. We see them as not entirely Indian in many cases by many, because we're not pure. We have our problems. But it's a small measure like of sort of recognizing and acknowledging those kind of roots that we all share and bringing those into the forefront. And I'm hoping in the future I'll be able to sort of release those more wordy supplements that talk a bit more in depth about the inspiration behind each dragon and what and how they relate to our culture. But yeah, that's a bit down the line. We wanted to get the workable stuff in people's hands, so that was the dragons. And maps were again like Marna's and all of you created maps for your own adventure, which was so awesome. I mean, that has not been mentioned so far, which I think is like worthwhile because that saved me a lot of effort.
Can I just talk? So because it's a world setting, there is a world map that my brother Myron designed. Okay, and it is beautiful. Like I was just like so happy about it, and he added some like flavor elements that I was like, oh wow, and that inspired new parts of this world. Like I was just so happy. It's so good.
And it's so old school because if you check out the map, it's not it's literally like I think it was originally probably in a leather-bound diary because Sean has a lot of leather-bound diaries, and like with an actual
faux leather.
Yeah, faux leather, yes, of course.
Important to
And with like an
mention.
actual utensil, like a drawing utensil. It's beautifully done with like it actually looks so much more old school, but at the same time, the names and stuff give it away. So we had to like get a nice, clean, scanned copy, and we included that in the magazine. But yeah, everybody did their own maps, which was like so awesome. It was unexpected, but welcome nonetheless.
Like that's
Lovely. That
final
sounds
line
amazing.
to
Mhm.
guys. Like because I know, I mean, I think I've discussed this. We're talking about like for Indian, but a lot of it becomes, and that can. But I mean, also a lot of quite like potpourri.
Yeah. I feel like on an international level, a lot of people, when they think of Indian fantasy, they think about mythology, and I think it's so much more than that. And I think that on some level, we are all trying to do that, just like because there is mythology one, but then there's also so much of culture that's not always based around mythology. It's always and we have a massive diaspora of people that exist over here. It's insane. There's so much. Like I literally have like I recently found this one book that just has like old cultural stories from different parts of India. Like folk tales and stuff, and we have so many of those. Like it's like so much of inspiration right here.
Okay. And I think I also felt like this kind of pressure, like as an Indian, that when I write my stories to have some kind of like Indian element in there. And sometimes it's been like a journey to recognize that it's like the fact that I am writing it is what makes it Indian. I don't have to like force myself to change names or call the king Raja just to make it Indian for whatever reason, right? And I think even in the beginning for my adventure, I kind of struggled with that, where I was like, should I be changing the names of the characters to make them more, to make the place more Indian instead of Alistair's, make it some like, some, I don't know, Arman or whatever. And then I was like, no, that's not, there are like a lot of orphanages that would be run by churches, so they would have a more Christian name on it, right? And because India in itself is just so diverse that I feel like that pressure of just like putting things in there and jamming it in there, which is not really actually like authentically a part of my life, doesn't make sense to me anymore. So that in itself has been a journey.
I mean, once you've been colonized, I think you get a free pass.
I don't think so. But
No, like I think
as close as one can get.
I mean, you can draw a direct line between, hey, you brought this here. Now don't get angry if we're using it. Like, we paid for it and then some. Okay.
Yeah, we paid a lot.
And then you have to pass IELTS to prove that. Okay, yeah. So with that, I'll come to my final question. And this final question is specifically to Vee, which is you run this home game, which is so loved by all of your players. Which, by the way, if you guys want to watch, you can't. But with that pressure of being, of being like a loved GM and having to build the whole world, and having the prerequisite of knowing a lot of things about the game. My question to you is, what is the class in D&D and why is it Paladin?
Kush is just pushing his agenda.
I was genuinely expecting like some big intellectual question coming in. This is. I've been planning this.
That's a long road to a short beer.
Okay.
This whole discussion was.
I think this whole
conceived
stream
to
was
make this
for
point.
this question.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Once I've recovered, the best class is Rogue and Bard. Okay, bye. It's not Paladin. What nonsense. Paladins are
The wrong
boring.
answer.
Paladins boring as
That's the way.
I mean, if you're playing Waterdeep Dragon Knight, it's definitely a rogue, which I have found out.
Yes!
Rogue
Oh
is the
my
best
God.
class. Especially one hasted.
Hasted rogue, oh my god, like...
That is like something else.
I think it's
Rajib's-
always a bard.
Just
It's
finish.
always a bard.
First,
You
I'll
need
start
a
with the history.
paladin, get a bard. You need a rogue, get a bard. You need a cleric, get a bard.
I love that.
amazing.
Just get a bard.
Like my favorite are Martial May, Rogue, and then Spellcaster, Bard. That's it. Like I just want to be able to do everything.
Exactly, like a lore bard can do anything.
Not well,
Yeah.
but everything.
But
Yes,
everything.
exactly.
A jack of all trades is still better
That's not
than
true,
master
though.
of
I-
one.
Until you come to a door
Kush,
and you're a
Kush,
bard.
we don't want to hear about paladins anymore, Kush.
Can't believe this.
I was going to talk about Rogue Bard multiclass, but okay. With that, we'll end this session. Once again, the link to the book is in the description. The link to all the panelists is in the description. All the Twitter, Instagram, OnlyFans, YouTube, all of that is right
Hey,
there.
hey, no
And,
secrets, huh?
oh,
And there is no discount code before Kush goes. There
Yeah,
is no
yeah.
discount.
Especially
There
OnlyFans.
is. Use TPK.
Yeah, I was just going to say, OnlyFans, you can get a discount code, just like
Yeah.
Yeah.
you'll find it. Go
Do
to
we-
coupondunia.com or something like that.
Do we have a OnlyFans for Kush's hair?
Yes,
Is
Kush,
that what's
Kush.
happening?
Oh my god,
That's
Kush,
pretty
Kush,
now.
for
Bye-bye.
hair. I love it, Kush, we have to make you an OnlyFans now.
Yeah, just for that. It's just strands of hair.
You can do some ASMR stuff out there. There's some, I'm sure there's some ASMR opportunities for your hair.
And
Stumpy.
slow-mo, like, doing
Stumpy
that.
ASMR.
Shampoo,
Kush, do now. Do once.
bubbles.
I'm not for free.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
Upbringing.
I like that. I respect that, Kush. I really do.
That's your liberty.
Fair.
Also, we're
All
going
right.
to be doing a couple
So-
of playtests of all these adventures over the next few weeks. So stay tuned for updates on that, hopefully.
Yeah, really looking forward to those.
So we'll do it. It's pakka going to happen. Don't know when, but it will.
Yeah, definitely.
Did it now, so we
All
have
right,
to do
so-
it, I guess.
It's
Thank
committed.
you. Yeah, that's why we said it. Okay, thanks for watching and hope you have a great day, night, wherever you are. Time zones.
Thank you. Bye.
It's
Thank
not
you.
gangs,
Bye-bye.
please.